In today's video, I'm going to be taking these and turning them into this. That's right, I'm going to be building an Xbox Series X out of Legos. Thank you to iFixit for sponsoring this video. Firstly, I have to say I am not a Lego building expert, so this project is going to be a challenge. I think I have enough Lego here, but the problem is that I've got to fit this big, heavy, internal brick, basically, of the Xbox Series X into a case made of Legos. I think the first thing I'm gonna do is try and build this outer shell, and then I need to transfer pieces like this and pieces like this into the outer shell, and then we can work on putting this big internal piece into the Xbox. I'm gonna be using the bit and driver set out of my iFixit ProTech toolkit to remove these inner pieces. This is gonna be probably the most difficult part of the whole build, is trying to fit all these pieces in here how they should. But we'll just take it one problem at a time and see if we can figure it out. So if you look down here, this is the eject button, and it's attached to this whole plastic piece right here, and these little plastic pieces attached to it kind of make it like a spring, so it springs back after you push it in. Ideally, I'd remove this whole plastic piece right here and then we could use that. I'm not sure if I can get that out though. Okay, we're getting it. Don't really like hearing those cracking noises, but I think it's slowly coming up. Okay, we're getting it. We just have to be careful not to break it. Woo! There we go. So this power button just goes right there. So that's unattached, whereas the eject button is attached. You can see it was glued in all these places right here. I may have to drill out a piece of the Lego plastic to be able to put this power button through, and then what we'll probably do is just glue this onto that same piece. So the next thing is going to be this whole assembly right here. It has the USB port on the front and then the bind button. Okay, now we might need to get this piece from down in here too. That looks like it's probably just glued on. We'll start with a metal pick. We'll use our iFixit spudger. Okay, got it. Now we got to figure out how we're gonna fit all of this stuff into the one made of Lego bricks. So this is what I'm thinking. We use these pieces to make one piece that goes all the way along the bottom. That way we have the one top piece, and then everything else will build onto that top piece. I think that'll work pretty well. And then for the bottom one, we can do similar thing. Just build a bottom piece for that right there. And then we can build the button into this bottom piece. So now that I'm looking at it, I probably don't even have to really put anything on this other than this support piece right here. Then we also have to cut a hole for a disk drive right there. And then our power button and eject button would go right there. So we need to cut a hole here and then also over here. So if we put one Lego support right down here, I can hold that all together for us. And then this could rest right here. We could cut the slot for the disk drive right here. Actually, I'll need to get a disk drive and put in here and make sure that we line that slot up correctly. Then we can do the same over here. I got to do some measuring and make sure this all lines up correctly when I compare it to the old case. Once I get that all lined up, I can mark it out, and then we can get to cutting and drilling. Okay, we got this all marked off correctly for the disk drive slot. Now we just got to cut it out. I've never cut Lego before, so hopefully this won't be too bad. Oh, and by the way, did I tell you, these are the only pieces that I have like this, so I have one shot at this. I will be using a fume extractor, so I don't want to be breathing these nasty Lego fumes in. Whew, well, I think there's one half, so I'm just gonna flip this around and do the other half, see how this looks. I think we got most of it. We're gonna have to do a little bit of work on the edges, but I think we can do that no problem. Let's remove this and look at the other side, and I think we can make that work. It doesn't look great initially, but I can just sand these edges up, and I think it'll actually look okay. Yeah, it definitely looks a little rough right now, but I mean, that's to be expected. Let's get a sander on here and sand these down a little bit. Okay, and is it the right size? Oh yeah, perfect size. So we'll probably need to do a little more work on this, but it's pretty close to about what we need. I do want to polish up the edges a little bit. We still got a little bit of plastic burrs on it, so I want to polish that up a little bit. But for now, let's move on to drilling holes. I went ahead and cut away this, I don't know what you call it, this little ridge right here on all these little circles right here because we need to drill right there. So I'm going to drill the power button hole there, and then the eject button hole right here. Whoa! I mean, we got through part of it. Let's go through with side cutters and see if we can get around that so it looks halfway decent from the outside. That's going to be a tough one, but let's see if we can do it. That is not the best fit. The drilling and cutting definitely has not gone as precise as I would have wanted. And I think it'll still work okay in the end, especially since it's all black. So the hole is definitely too big, but I don't think that's too much of a problem. We can cover some of that. The main thing is that it's mostly round, so this power button is sort of in the middle. So I think that's still gonna work. Not my favorite work. I definitely wish that the hole was smaller, but I think it's gonna still work. Let's get to drilling the other hole, which is right over here. See if we can do a little better job of that one. Okay, and once again, we're gonna have to clean that up quite a bit. I think one of the main problems is we don't have any sort of like drill press to work with here. I think if I had something a little more stable that would hold the piece in place, that would work just fine. But since I don't, this is what we have to work with. Okay, and let's check the fit of this one. Oh, there we go. See, now that's what I'm talking about. So now with that done, we need to do this lower piece right down here, and then a little rectangle piece for a USB plug to go into. So this USB port is gonna need to go through here, and then we're also gonna need to drill a hole over here. But first we're gonna start by grinding this out. I've got it marked out, I've got it taped off. I only have this large grinding wheel, so I can only go down so far. That actually might be good since the last time I did this, it didn't turn out super well. Then we'll finish it off with some other tools. Okay, not too bad. Got a little more cleaning up to do here. I think we can actually clean these edges up to make it look pretty good. And again, definitely not perfect, but that I think is actually gonna work pretty well. So now we gotta get the next hole drilled. And here we go. Okay, now we'll clean that up manually with other tools, and then we'll see how that hole looks when we're done. That actually looks decent. I mean, got a little more cleaning up to do around the edges, but that actually looks pretty good. So I think one of the hardest parts of this build is done. At least I sure hope so. Okay, so we have the front faceplate, I think, done. I'm not sure how all these reinforcements are going to be able to stay on here. I'm probably going to have to move them around some, but I think it's time to start building the rest. So the next thing I want to do is try and create a top that kind of like recreates this look of the black and then the green underneath. So my idea is to take bricks like this and attach these green pieces underneath like that. So then when you're looking down there, you kind of get the same look as on the original Xbox Series X. Now, since I do have to install this piece here, I can't put the green right along here, so I'm going to start the green on the next row up, and let's see how it looks. So then we'll attach the green right here. Yeah, that's going to be a problem. So I'm gonna have to do these one less in order to be able to fit these blocks on over here. And there we go, that works a lot better using this spacing and these sizes. So now we can keep building up, and then we'll also build along this edge. And before long, we'll have what starts to look like an Xbox, hopefully. So in bright light, you can definitely see the green down there. when the light isn't very bright, it's much harder to see. But I don't know of a better way to do this. So I think we're just gonna keep going as is. Even on the original, it's not like you can always see the green. I think this actually will work pretty well. Really the only difference is the black is much thinner right here, and I think that's really what's causing the difference between this one and the Lego one. We're just gonna keep going as is and see what it looks like when we're done. Now that we've gotten this far, I do wanna do like a quick test fit on this, just to make sure all the guts on this thing will fit in here. And, okay, it actually looks pretty good. And then I think what I want to try and do is actually make it so the back cover will actually fit on here, kind of like it does on the original, just because all of these little ports right in here are going to be a lot easier to do if I have the back cover on. Plus, I think it would just look cool to have an actual back cover on this thing. Now that we have this piece mostly done, we're starting to build the walls. I want to get these plastic pieces mounted inside the front of the case before we go too far and it makes it more difficult. So what I'm going to do is kind of set these in there about how they go. Then I'm going to bring out some hot glue and glue them in. So now I've just tacked these in place with hot glue. Okay, the glue is tacky, so that should be enough, at least for us to give it a little test. Let's first check these power buttons, and I will support this from behind. Okay, I can hear it clicking, which is good. And eject button also clicks. So that seems just fine. Now let's see if we can put the disk drive in where it goes. So that will line up with those slots there. And you can see the slot is right there. This little bit of white you see right here, that won't be noticeable once we get this thing all covered up. It'll look basically like that. So that looks good. So then the only other thing is the USB slot right here. And it looks like, yes, it will. Okay. So that tells me that all of these are installed correctly and correctly lined up with everything. So now I'm going to go through and put a lot more glue on these because these will sort of take a beating over time as things are pushed in, the buttons are pressed and stuff like that. So I want to make sure these are on here nice and strong. I think that's plenty of hot glue for these things. So now I just got to let it dry. Then we'll start building the walls. Now I've gotten the walls built up a little bit. All of the hot glue is nice and dry. So all these pieces are in here very solidly. The next thing I want to do is put this piece in here, this USB slot. I want to make sure that it all fits in here correctly. Should snap into place. Let's look at it on the other side. See how it all looks. All right. So we have the power button here, which works. It's ugly, but it works. Got the eject button right here. Also works. And the sync button right here. That button also works great. So now that all the buttons work, we've got to keep building up these edges, the sides right here. I'm getting a little low on pieces, but I think we're going to be okay. Then I've also built these two holes right in here. And this is where that mid assembly, it should fit right in here and right in there. So it just kind of sits in there how it's supposed to. So now that that's all done, let's get the rest of the outer case built. And then we'll do a test fit to see if everything fits in how it should. I really hope it does. This was a lot of work. So hopefully it all fits how it should. Careful. We should be able to fit this back against here like that. I don't know if you can see. So there's the little cutouts for those little legs right there. Sorry, it's out of focus. Can't hold this thing in focus at the same time. With this installed, let's see if the disk drive will fit in. Come on. Oh, yeah, that's right where it goes. Okay, that fits in. Now we got to see if the fan fits in here. Tight fit there. Oh, here we go. Okay, that actually fits great. Now with this all in here, I'm not going to plug the cables in yet. Let's see if the back cover fits on. It would go on just like this. I'm not going to snap it all on because I don't want it to break anything. I also don't want to snap it on and then have to remove it and have it break something. So I'm not totally sure if it'll snap on how it should, but let's get all the cables connected and then let's try that back cover again. I've got these all built up I'm gonna try and make this so these little grooves of this back panel fit right in here. So let's try and fit the back panel on. So it's got these two pins right here that have to go here and here. So I've got to try and line that up while I'm lining everything else up. I think maybe that's it. Okay, good so far. Okay, we got it. It's a little bowed out here. So we need to put a screw in here and a screw in here. So I can't quite make this fit with these pieces right here. So I think I'm gonna have to leave this as is. At some point, I could probably redo this a little bit and make it look a little bit better, but as is, this back panel stays in here really nice, so I don't really wanna mess with it any more than I have to. So let's take a look at this thing. I think maybe it's done. Okay, let's see if anything happens when we flip it. Oh, good. Okay, good so far. I don't know that I want to flip it this way, but I'm going to anyway, so you can get a good look at the front. And there it is. That is very black. So the case is actually pretty sturdy. I can pick it up and move it, and it all works just fine. The main thing that we don't have is any way to keep it from sliding backward. So it can slide backward if I don't hold the back, but other than that, it's actually pretty strong. I wish this hole would have ended up better, the disk drive slot, and I really wish I would have done a better job on this power button, but that was my first time drilling any sort of Lego, and overall, I think it's actually not too bad considering how difficult these are to drill. So this all looks pretty good, but does it work? Let's plug it in and find out. Okay, we got it all plugged in. Let's see if it'll turn on. Okay, we got the bell and we got a white light. Oh, here we go. We got a display. Of course we need to update it. So the bind button works. We got the power button blinking. Okay, and there we go. The disk drive works. And the disk even comes back out. So the slot that we built is definitely big enough, which I wouldn't be surprised since it's so large. So this Lego Xbox Series X is working great. If you like this type of video and you want to see a video where I built a Lego Nintendo Entertainment System, I'll put a link for that up on your screen now. Thank you again to iFixit for sponsoring this video. If you're looking for parts or tools or repair guides, go to ifixit.com/TronicsFix. Thank you so much for watching today, and I hope you have a good one.